Not quite as long as his mother, who knew him, of course, before I did, when she was caregiving. But Todd's life of ministry started quite early. In the first house we lived in Grand Rapids, where he was born, there was a neighbor behind us, an old guy named Leo, and I think he had a wife, saw her once in a while. But anyway, one time Todd is out there witnessing to this guy, telling him he needs to know Jesus. Todd was not more than 5 years old because we didn't live there after he was 5 years old. Then again, later, a few years later in Puerto Rico, we were there for 10 years as missionaries. Across the street from us was a Cuban family, and they had a boy about Todd's age, I don't know exactly, Armandito. Todd witnessed to him, and very possibly led him to the Lord, because he came to camp with us sometime after that, and we baptized him at camp, Armandito. So maybe he and Todd are shaking hands together today, we don't know that. But his life of ministry began early, but he was also a businessman. We had some delicious Concord grapes growing in the backyard of our house. And they were great. Fayette actually successfully made wine once with them. It only worked once. But that had nothing to do with that. But she would put bunches of grapes in baskets and give them to Todd, and he'd peddle them around the neighborhood to the neighbors. So he was already in his first business venture. I don't know how many he sold, but that was one thing that he did. So I remember those things, and they're cute, they're fun. We had a friend in Puerto Rico, well, not about Todd's age. He emailed me the other day. He said he was 12 when we moved to the neighborhood there in Ponce, and he said he thought Todd was about 5 years younger. Well, Todd was actually 7 years younger. This guy, Fernando, wrote me a note telling me about when we first moved there. Todd was out in the street wanting to play with his kids, but Fernando says, you know, we were all older than he was, and we had our group. We didn't need any intruders. We didn't need anybody new, especially that young. So we didn't let him in. But Todd kept insisting, and kept insisting, and kept insisting. And finally, they had to let him in the group. And so he played with them. So he was persistent, which I think Sherry knows, probably his kids know, that he was a pretty persistent guy. But these are some memories that I have. Fernando, in that same email, talked about when Todd and Sherry, the family, lived in Puerto Rico for about a year and a half, when he was there, sent by his company to manage a factory, a plant. But when we visited Ponce, where we had lived, Fernando, we reconnected with Fernando. And Todd, and he said in this email, I was going to bring it with me to read it, but I forgot. So I will try to remember what he said briefly. He said that he was impressed with Todd because he was willing to give up a job like that to go into to serve the Lord, which apparently was his plan at that point, even though we really didn't know it. But he must have discussed this with Fernando. But his last line in that paragraph really grabbed me. And I think what we've heard today about Todd from people who knew him in ways perhaps that I didn't. Fernando said, I would love to be more like Todd. That said a lot about his testimony and his relating to people. So that blessed me, and I'm thrilled. So I'm happy to be his dad. He turned out well because the Lord did it, not because I did it. His mom had a big part in it too. But thank God for Todd and for his memory.
Wow.